The great hall of the Cosmic Council stretched wider than any building on Earth. Its walls gleamed with strange metals that shifted colors like oil on water. 12 massive chairs surrounded a circular platform in the center, where Ambassador Li Hyun now stood. Each chair held a different alien species, and each species looked at him with what could only be called contempt. Li Hyun had been Earth's top diplomat for 15 years. He had negotiated trade deals with the friendly Arcanian merchants. He had settled border disputes with the peaceful Kelton farmers. He had even managed to establish mining rights with the stubborn Vorthon crystal beings. But today felt different. Today felt like the end of everything. Colonel Park Jin sat at the human delegation table behind Li Hyun. The military advisor kept his face calm, but his hands gripped his chair so tightly, his knuckles had turned white. Next to him, Dr. Kim Sora reviewed her datapad one more time. The xenobiologist had studied every species in this room for years. She knew their cultures, their languages, their ways of thinking. None of that knowledge seemed to matter now. The Vorthon Prime Minister rose from his crystalline throne. He stood 3 meters tall, and his body looked like living diamond. When he spoke, his voice rang like bells in a cathedral. "Human representative," the Prime Minister began. "We have called you here today to deliver the final judgment of the Cosmic Council. Your species has been found guilty of aggressive expansion and dangerous reproduction rates. You threaten the balance of our galaxy." Li Hyun kept his expression neutral. He had expected harsh words, but the formal accusation still hit him like a physical blow. Behind him, he heard Colonel Park Jin shift in his seat. The insectoid Kalari delegate clicked her mandibles together in what Li Hyun recognized as approval. Her 6 eyes focused on him with predator intensity. "The human colony ships spread, like infection through space," she said in her chittering voice. "Wherever humans land, they change everything. They build, they expand, they multiply." Above them, the gaseous Nephim floated in their containment sphere. Their translated voice came through speakers around the room. "In 200 cycles, humans have established 47 colonies. This expansion rate exceeds all previous species by a factor of 12. It is unsustainable." Li Hyun finally spoke. "Honorable Council members, humanity has followed all established protocols for colony establishment. We have respected existing territorial claims. We have maintained peaceful relations with all contacted species." The Zephyrian Trade Minister laughed, a sound like wind through metal tubes. "Peaceful relations while you flood our markets with your goods. Peaceful relations while your merchants undercut our prices with their efficient production methods. Your people work too hard," added the Mollusk Consortium representative, its tentacles writhing with agitation. "They make the rest of us look lazy by comparison. This creates social unrest in our own populations." Dr. Kim Sora looked up from her datapad. She had studied this phenomenon during her research. Human work ethic and innovation had indeed disrupted traditional galactic commerce. But she had not realized the other species saw this as a threat rather than beneficial competition. The Vorthon Prime Minister raised one crystalline hand for silence. "The Council has deliberated for many cycles on this matter. We have reached a unanimous decision. These are our terms for continued human participation in galactic civilization." Li Hyun felt his heart sink, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. "We are prepared to hear your proposal." "First," the Prime Minister announced, "humanity must abandon all colonies established in the past 50 cycles. These 23 worlds must be evacuated within 2 standard years." Colonel Park Jin half rose from his chair before catching himself. Those colonies housed nearly 200 million humans. Evacuation would be a logistical nightmare even if they had somewhere to send everyone. Second, Earth's population must be capped at current levels. No further reproduction will be permitted without Council approval. Each birth must be registered and justified to our Oversight Committee. Dr. Kim Sora felt sick. Population control of this magnitude would effectively end human expansion and development. It would trap their species in permanent stagnation. Third, all human technological development must be supervised by Council observers. No new innovations may be implemented without prior approval from this body. Lee Hyun found his voice. Honorable Prime Minister, these terms would essentially end human civilization as we know it. You are asking us to abandon millions of our people and surrender our basic rights to self-determination. The crystalline being's eyes flashed brighter. You mistake our mercy for negotiation, human. These are not terms for discussion. These are conditions for your continued existence in this galaxy. You have 48 standard hours to provide Earth's acceptance. The insectoid Kalari delegate clicked her mandibles again. Refuse, and humanity will face the combined military might of all 12 council species. Your 47 colonies will be occupied. Your merchant fleet will be impounded. Earth itself will be placed under direct council administration. Lee Hyun looked around the great hall. Every alien face showed the same expression of cold certainty. They had already decided humanity's fate. This meeting was merely a formality, a chance to deliver their ultimatum with the appearance of diplomatic process. I must consult with my government, Lee Hyun said carefully. These decisions cannot be made by a single representative. The Vorthan, Prime Minister's laugh sounded like breaking crystal. 48 hours, human, not one moment longer. We have been patient with your species long enough. The galaxy requires order, and your people represent chaos. The Nephim's gaseous form swirled faster in its containment sphere. Your expansion threatens established trade routes. Your innovations disrupt traditional manufacturing. Your very existence challenges the stability we have maintained for thousands of cycles. Lee Hyun realized with growing horror that the aliens were not angry about human aggression or violence. They were threatened by human success. Humanity had committed no crimes except being too good at the things they tried to do. Colonel Park Jin stood slowly. With respect to the Council, we request safe passage to return to human space while Earth considers your ultimatum. The Mollusk Consortium representative waved a tentacle dismissively. Your ships may depart, but remember, human military officer, that every moment you delay costs lives. Accept our generous terms or face the consequences of your species' arrogance. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Lee Hyun took one last look around the great hall. The 12 alien species watched him with cold satisfaction. They believed they had won already. They thought 48 hours would be enough time for humanity to realize the hopelessness of resistance. Lee Hyun hoped they were wrong, but as he walked toward the exit, he could not shake the feeling that he had just witnessed the end of human freedom in the galaxy. The only question now was whether his people would choose slavery or war. The great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. The journey back to Earth took 36 hours. Ambassador Lee Hyun spent most of that time staring out the viewport at the stars, thinking about the impossible choice facing his species. Beside him, Colonel Park Jin worked constantly on his secure communicator, sending encrypted messages to military commanders across human space. Dr. Kim Sora sat quietly reviewing files about each council species, searching for any weakness or advantage they might have missed. When their ship finally docked at Luna Station, Earth's moon base, Lee Hyun saw the results of those 36 hours of preparation. Military transports filled the docking bays. Emergency supply convoys moved through the corridors. Everyone walked faster than usual, their faces tight with worry. President Choi Moran waited for them in the secure briefing room. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but today she looked like she had aged 10 years overnight. Around the table sat her most trusted advisors, Defense Minister Yang Tai, Foreign Secretary Lim Nari, and Economic Advisor Kang Woo. "Ambassador," President Choi said as Lee Hyun entered, "tell me everything." Lee Hyun spent the next 2 hours describing every detail of the council meeting. He repeated the aliens' exact words, described their body language, explained the meaning behind their cultural gestures. When he finished, the room fell silent. Defense Minister Yang Tai was the first to speak. "They want us to become slaves. There is no other word for it." Foreign Secretary Lim Nari shook her head. "We must consider the alternatives. If we refuse, they promise war against all human worlds. We have 47 colonies with over 4 100 million people. How can we protect them all? We cannot, Colonel Park Jin said bluntly. Our military analysis shows the Council commands over 15,000 warships. We have perhaps 800 combat vessels. The mathematics are simple. Economic advisor Kang Wu leaned forward. But what happens if we accept their terms? 23 colonies evacuated means 200 million refugees with nowhere to go. Earth cannot support that many additional people. Our remaining colonies would be overwhelmed. Dr. Kim Sora finally spoke. There is something else to consider. The aliens are not just threatened by our expansion or our birth rates. They are threatened by what we represent. We work harder than they do. We innovate faster than they do. We adapt to challenges while they prefer stability. President Choi studied each face around the table. You are saying they fear us not because we are aggressive, but because we are successful? Exactly, Dr. Kim Sora replied. In their minds, we are a disease that must be contained before we upset their comfortable way of life. Defense Minister. Yang Tai slammed his fist on the table. Then we fight. Better to die free than live as pets in their galactic zoo. Foreign Secretary Lim Nari looked horrified. Minister Yang, you are talking about the deaths of millions of our people. We have families on those colonies, children who have never seen Earth. Are you willing to sacrifice them for pride? I am willing to sacrifice everything for freedom, Yang Tai replied. What kind of future do those children have under alien control? What kind of humans will they become if we teach them that surrender is acceptable when faced with bullies? The debate continued for hours. President Choi listened to every argument, asked careful questions, and made notes on her tablet. Finally, she called for a break. Lee Hyun found himself alone with the president in her private office. Through the window they could see Earth turning slowly below them, its blue oceans and white clouds beautiful and peaceful. What would you do, Ambassador? President Choi asked quietly. Lee Hyun thought about the crystalline arrogance of the Vorthon Prime Minister. He remembered the clicking satisfaction of the insectoid Kalari. He recalled the cold dismissal in every alien voice. They never intended to negotiate, he said. This was always about forcing us to submit. They gave us 48 hours not because they wanted our answer, but because they wanted us to suffer while making an impossible choice. President Choi nodded slowly. I have been thinking the same thing. If we accept their terms today, what will they demand tomorrow? More colonies abandoned? Lower population limits? Complete technological dependence? The process will never end, Lee Hyun agreed. Each concession will lead to greater demands until humanity exists only as a curiosity in their museums. When the cabinet reconvened, President Choi had made her decision. I am calling for an immediate session of the Colonial Assembly. Every colony will have a voice in this choice. If we are to face the consequences together, we must make the decision together. For the next 6 hours, representatives from all 47 human colonies participated in the most important vote in human history. The debate was broadcast live to every human world. Families gathered in their homes to watch. Workers stopped their jobs to listen. Children asked their parents what the strange words meant. On New Seoul, farmer Bae Young told her neighbors, "My grandparents came here to build something better than what they left behind. I will not abandon that dream because aliens are jealous of our success." On Armstrong Station, engineer Kang Min watched the debate with his work crew. If we give up now, he said, we teach our children that freedom can be traded for safety. That is not the lesson I want to leave them. Similar conversations happened on every human world. The colonial representatives voted not as politicians but as the voices of their people. When the final vote was counted, the result was overwhelming. 45 colonies voted to reject the ultimatum. Only 2 voted for acceptance. President Choi addressed the human species one last time before the deadline expired. We have made our choice. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not accept limits on our population. We will not surrender control of our technology. We choose freedom over safety, uncertainty over slavery. Lee Hyun returned to the Cosmic Council chambers with 12 hours remaining before the deadline. The Great Hall was packed with alien observers, all eager to witness humanity's surrender. The Vorthon Prime Minister leaned forward in his crystalline throne. "Human representative, have you brought your government's acceptance of our generous terms?" Li Hyun walked to the center of the circular platform. He looked up at each of the 12 alien species that had demanded humanity's submission. Then he spoke clearly and calmly. "The Human Republic rejects your ultimatum in its entirety. We withdraw from these negotiations immediately. All human diplomatic missions are hereby recalled from Council space. From this moment forward, humanity will determine its own destiny among the stars." The silence that followed was complete. For several seconds, none of the aliens seemed to understand what they had heard. Then the Vorthon Prime Minister's voice rang out, like breaking crystal. "You dare refuse the will of the Council?" Li Hyun smiled for the first time in days. "We do not recognize the Council's authority over human affairs. We never did." The insectoid Kalari delegate clicked her mandibles furiously. "You have chosen war, human fool. Your species will pay the price for this arrogance." "Perhaps," Li Hyun replied, "but we will pay it as free beings." As he walked toward the exit, the aliens erupted in angry discussion. Their comfortable certainty had been shattered. They had expected submission, but instead, they faced defiance. Outside the Great Hall, Colonel Park Jin waited with their security detail. "Captain Han Wu has our ships ready for immediate departure," he reported. Li Hyun nodded. "Then let us go home. We have a war to prepare for." As their convoy of ships left the Council station, every human aboard knew they might never see their families again. But they also knew they had done the right thing. Sometimes the most important battles are the ones you cannot afford to lose. Behind them, the Cosmic Council began planning humanity's destruction. They still believed it would be simple. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. 6 months after Ambassador Li Hyun walked out of the Cosmic Council chambers, the alien blockade was complete. Admiral Nam Ki stood on the bridge of the battleship Terra Nova, watching the sensor displays with growing concern. The enemy fleet stretched across 3 star systems, creating an impenetrable wall around human space. "Final count, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Oda. "We have confirmed positions on 11,400 alien vessels. They have us completely surrounded." Nam Ki had served in the human navy for 30 years. He had fought pirates, explored unknown systems, and commanded rescue missions in dangerous space, but he had never faced odds like these. The alien fleet outnumbered every human warship by more than 10 to 1. "Any word from the outer colonies?" Nam Ki asked. "New Sol reports successful harvest completion despite the blockade," replied Communications Officer Shin Ro. "They say morale remains high. New Tokyo has finished converting their civilian factories to military production. New Busan requests permission to begin mining asteroid belts for raw materials." Nam Ki nodded with satisfaction. The colonies were adapting faster than he had hoped. When the aliens cut off all trade routes, he had worried about widespread panic and supply shortages. Instead, human communities were pulling together and finding creative solutions. On the farming world of New Seoul, Mayor Song Hai walked through the central market square. 6 months ago, this place had been filled with alien traders selling exotic goods from across the galaxy. Now it buzzed with human merchants offering locally made products. The selection was smaller, but the quality was surprisingly good. "Mayor Song," called out shopkeeper Park Jae, "the new communications equipment is working perfectly. We can reach every farm in the northern continent now." Song Hai smiled. When the aliens jammed long-range communications, her people had built their own network using old radio technology and creative engineering. It was not as advanced as the alien systems, but it worked reliably, and the aliens could not block it. "What about the medical supplies?" Song Hai asked. "Dr. Lee Min has been training local assistants to produce most of what we need," Park Jae replied. "We cannot make the most complex medicines yet, but we cover 90% of normal healthcare needs." Similar stories were playing out across human space. On the mining world of New Glasgow, workers had figured out how to extract rare metals without alien equipment. On the research station at Kepler Base, Scientists were developing new technologies using only human knowledge and resources. Dr. Kim Sora, now heading Earth's Emergency Science Committee, reviewed the latest reports from 17 human colonies. What she saw amazed her. Cut off from galactic trade, humans were not collapsing as the aliens had predicted. They were innovating at an incredible rate. Dr. Ryubin, she called to her chief physicist. Show me the power generation data again. Ryubin brought up the holographic display. Every colony has exceeded their previous energy output by at least 40%. New Horizon has actually doubled their capacity using a fusion design they developed independently. What about food? Production? Up 30% across all agricultural worlds. The farmers say they work harder when they know their families depend entirely on local resources. Dr. Kim Sora shook her head in wonder. The alien blockade was supposed to weaken humanity through isolation and hardship. Instead, it was making them stronger and more self-reliant. The aliens, meanwhile, were growing frustrated. The Vorthan Prime Minister convened emergency sessions every week, demanding reports on human surrender negotiations. Each week, his commanders reported the same thing. No surrender offers had been received. How long can they maintain this defiance? The crystalline leader asked his military advisors. General Zektar, the senior Kalari officer, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Their supply chains should have collapsed within the first month. Their communications network should have failed. Within 2 months, their industrial base should have ground to a halt within 3 months. And yet they seem to be thriving. Our intelligence reports indicate increased productivity across all human colonies. They are building new ships, developing new weapons, and expanding their manufacturing capacity. The Vorthan Prime Minister's crystal body flashed with anger. This is impossible. No species can survive complete isolation from galactic trade. But humans were not just surviving. They were preparing. Engineer Kang Min worked 18-hour shifts at the orbital shipyards above Earth. His team had designed a new class of warship using only human technology and materials. It was smaller than the alien ships, but faster and more maneuverable. How many can we build per month? Asked his supervisor, Director Lim Su. With current resources, maybe 50 per month per shipyard, Kang Min replied. But if we convert more civilian facilities, we could triple that number. Do it. Convert everything that can be converted. Across human space, similar conversations were happening. Civilian transportation companies retooled their factories to build military vehicles. Asteroid miners redirected their efforts toward strategic metals. Research universities focused entirely on weapons and defense systems. Teacher Bei Young had never expected to become a soldier. For 20 years, she had educated children on the farming world of New Seoul. But when the alien blockade began, she volunteered for the Civilian Defense Corps. Now she trained farmers, shopkeepers, and office workers in basic combat techniques. Remember, she told her class of 30 volunteers, we are not trying to be professional soldiers. We are learning to defend our homes and families. Her students ranged in age from 18 to 65. They included a baker, 2 mechanics, a nurse, and a retired accountant. None of them had military experience, but all of them were determined to protect their community. What if the aliens actually invade our world? Asked Kim Ho, the local baker. Bei Young looked around at the faces of her neighbors and friends. Then we show them that every human world is a fortress. We show them that conquering us will cost more than they are willing to pay. The training sessions were happening on every human colony. Millions of civilians were learning to fight, not because they wanted war, but because they refused to live as slaves. Admiral Nam Ki received daily reports about these civilian preparations. Part of him worried about untrained people facing professional alien soldiers, but another part of him felt proud of his species' determination. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Oda approached with the latest intelligence summary. The aliens are repositioning their fleets. It looks like they might be preparing for direct action instead of just maintaining the blockade. Namki studied the tactical display. The alien formations were indeed changing, becoming more aggressive in their positioning. How long before they are ready to attack? Our analysts estimate 2 to 3 weeks. Then we use that time wisely. Send orders to all colony commanders. Implement final defense preparations immediately. As the orders went out across human space, millions of people prepared for the fight of their lives. They had no illusions about their chances against the massive alien fleet, but they had something the aliens had forgotten during their centuries of comfortable dominance: the absolute refusal to surrender their freedom. On Earth, President Choi Miran addressed the human species one final time before the shooting started. "We chose this path together," she said. "We knew it would be difficult. We knew the odds were against us. But we also knew that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Freedom is worth fighting for. The right to determine our own destiny is worth fighting for. The future of our children is worth fighting for. The aliens thought they could break our spirit by cutting us off from the galaxy. Instead, they have united us as never before. They thought isolation would make us weak. Instead, it has made us strong. Whatever comes next, we will face it together, and we will show the galaxy that humanity bows to no one." The transmission ended, and across human space, 400 million people prepared for war. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and completely surrounded, but they were not afraid. They were ready. 18 months into the siege, Dr. Ryu Bin made a discovery that would change everything. He stood in his laboratory beneath the mountains of New Geneva, staring at readings that should have been impossible. His quantum tunneling drive had just transported a test probe 3 light-years away in less than a second, bypassing normal space entirely. "Run the test again," he told his assistant, Dr. Park Min. "I need to be absolutely certain." The second test produced the same results. The third test actually improved the efficiency. By the fourth test, Dr. Ryu Bin was laughing with excitement. "Do you understand what this means?" he asked Dr. Park Min. "We can move ships anywhere in the galaxy without traveling through normal space. The alien blockade becomes meaningless." Within hours, the news reached Dr. Kim Sora at Emergency Science Committee headquarters. Within days, she was standing in Dr. Ryu Bin's laboratory, watching the impossible demonstration herself. "How did you develop this?" she asked. "The theoretical foundation should have required centuries of research." Dr. Ryu Bin smiled tiredly. 18 months of desperation and unlimited resources. When you know your species' survival depends on innovation, you find ways to work faster than you ever imagined possible. The first operational quantum tunneling drive was installed on a small courier ship commanded by Captain Oda. Her mission was simple but crucial: break through the alien blockade and establish contact with neutral species beyond the siege zone. Captain Oda had volunteered for the mission knowing she might not survive. The quantum drive was experimental technology, and no one knew what would happen if it failed during use. She sat in her pilot's seat, ran through the final checklist, and activated the drive. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. For a moment that felt like eternity, she existed everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Then reality snapped back into focus, and her sensors showed the impossible. She was 3 star systems away from human space, completely beyond the alien blockade. "This is Captain Oda to Emergency Command," she transmitted on quantum communication channels. "Quantum jump successful. I am outside the siege perimeter and proceeding to contact neutral territories." Back in human space, Admiral Nam Ki received the transmission with amazement. "How many ships can we equip with this new drive?" he asked Dr. Kim Sora. "We can retrofit existing vessels at a rate of about 20 per month," she replied. "New construction with integrated quantum drives can be completed faster." "Do it. Priority goes to supply ships first, then combat vessels." Captain Oda's mission proved more successful than anyone had dared hope. The Arcanian Federation, a collection of peaceful trading worlds, had been wondering what happened to their human business partners. When Captain Oda explained the situation, the Arcanian leadership was outraged. "The Council claims they act for galactic stability," said Arcanian Prime Minister Telvaros. "But this siege violates every principle of interstellar law. We will trade with humans regardless of Council prohibitions." Similar reactions came from other neutral species. The Kelton farmers needed human agricultural technology. The independent miners of the asteroid consortium wanted human manufacturing equipment. Even some species previously aligned with the Council began secretly questioning the siege. Within 3 months, a hidden network of trade routes connected human space to dozens of neutral worlds. Quantum-equipped ships appeared throughout the HFY galaxy, carrying human goods and returning with exotic materials. The aliens' economic blockade collapsed completely, but humanity's real surprise was not their new technology. It was their industrial capacity. Engineer Kang Min stood on the observation deck of Luna Shipyard Station, watching the construction bays work around the clock. When the siege began, this facility could build 2 ships per month. Now it launched 2 ships per day. "How is this possible?" asked visiting journalist Park Soo, who was documenting humanity's war effort. Kang Min pointed to the automated assembly systems filling every available space. "We stopped trying to match alien efficiency and started being human instead. Alien shipyards are designed for steady, predictable production over decades. Our yards are designed for rapid expansion when needed. But the resources are everywhere once you stop depending on others to provide them," Kang Min replied. "Every asteroid in this system contains enough metal to build a fleet. Every moon has minerals we can use, we just needed the motivation to extract them ourselves." The numbers were staggering. Human industrial output had increased by 400% since the siege began. Ship construction was up by 600%. Most shocking of all, scientific innovation was advancing at 10 times the pre-war rate. Teacher Bei Young had become something she never expected, a military leader. The Civilian Defense Corps on New Seoul now numbered over 50,000 volunteers. They were still farmers and shopkeepers and office workers, but they were farmers and shopkeepers and office workers who could fight. "The aliens made a fundamental error," she told her senior officers during their weekly planning meeting. "They assumed we would react like they would react. They assumed we would surrender when faced with superior numbers." "What did they miss?" asked Kim Ho, the baker who had become her second in command. "They missed the fact that humans fight hardest when protecting their families. Every person on this world has children or parents or friends they refuse to abandon. That makes us more dangerous than any professional army." The aliens were beginning to understand their mistake. Vorthen Prime Minister's weekly briefings grew more grim with each passing month. "The humans have broken our blockade completely," reported General Zektar. "Their ships now appear in systems throughout the galaxy. They are trading openly with neutral species and establishing new diplomatic relationships." "What about their military capacity?" "Unknown but growing rapidly. Our intelligence estimates they are building ships at 20 times their pre-war rate. Quality appears to match or exceed our own vessels." The Vorthen Prime Minister's crystal body flickered with confusion. How can an isolated species increase production while under siege? They are not isolated anymore, and they appear to be more motivated by adversity than weakened by it. Captain Shinro commanded one of the new human strike cruisers, equipped with quantum tunneling drives and weapons that had been developed in the crucible of desperation. His orders were simple: harass alien supply lines and avoid direct engagement with major fleet units. His ship materialized inside an alien convoy route, fired a full spread of missiles at surprise transport vessels, and quantum jumped away before the escort ships could respond. The entire engagement lasted less than 30 seconds. "Target destroyed," reported his weapons officer. "No casualties on our side." "Next target coordinates laid in," added his navigator. This pattern repeated dozens of times per day across alien space. Human ships appeared without warning, struck hard at vulnerable targets, and vanished before retaliation was possible. The aliens found themselves defending supply routes that stretched across hundreds of star systems against an enemy that could strike anywhere at any time. Admiral Nam Ki studied the strategic situation with growing satisfaction. "The aliens have superior numbers, but they are spread across the entire galaxy, trying to protect their interests. We can concentrate our forces anywhere we choose and achieve local superiority." "What about their main battle fleet?" asked his aide, Commander Li Jun. still positioned around human space waiting for us to come out and fight on their terms. They do not understand that we have already changed the terms of engagement. On Earth, President Choi Miran received daily reports of humanity's growing success. The siege that was supposed to break human spirit had instead unleashed human potential. Cut off from alien luxury goods, humans had learned to make better products themselves. Denied alien technology, humans had innovated solutions the aliens never imagined. "We are not the same species we were 2 years ago," she told her cabinet. "The aliens forced us to become something stronger, something more independent, something more united." Economic advisor Kang Woo nodded agreement. "Our productivity has increased beyond anything in human history. Our technology now surpasses alien standards in multiple areas. Our military capacity grows stronger every month." "And our people?" President Choi asked. Defense Minister Yang Tai smiled. "Our people have learned they can accomplish anything when their survival depends on it. Every human world has become a fortress. Every human community has become a family. Every human citizen has become a defender of our species." The transformation was complete. Humanity had entered the siege as a dependent client species, relying on alien trade and technology for their prosperity. They were emerging as an independent power capable of challenging the established galactic order. The aliens had wanted to contain human expansion. Instead, they had accelerated it. They had wanted to limit human development. Instead, they had supercharged it. They had wanted to break human spirit. Instead, they had forged it into something unbreakable. As the second year of the siege ended, neutral species throughout the galaxy watched in amazement as human ships became a common sight in their systems. Human goods competed successfully with alien products. Human diplomats offered partnerships based on mutual benefit rather than dominance. 2 years after walking away from the Cosmic Council chambers, Fleet Admiral Han Wu stood on the bridge of humanity's newest battleship, the Earth's Pride. Through the viewport, he could see the alien industrial complex at Kepler Station burning. In the void of space, his lightning raid had destroyed 3 major manufacturing facilities and crippled alien ship production in this entire sector. "Damage assessment complete, Admiral," reported his tactical officer, Commander Yun Mi. "All targets destroyed. No alien casualties reported." Han Wu nodded with satisfaction. This was the 47th successful raid this month, and like all the others, it had been completed without killing a single alien. Humanity's new strategy was precise and surgical. Destroy infrastructure, capture supplies, but avoid taking lives whenever possible. "Set course for the extraction point," Han Wu ordered. "Signal the fleet to prepare for quantum jump." Within minutes, the human strike force had vanished into quantum space, leaving behind only wreckage and very confused alien defenders. The entire engagement had lasted less than an hour. This pattern was being repeated across the galaxy. Human fleets appeared without warning at alien industrial sites, military depots, and supply hubs. They struck with devastating precision, seized whatever resources they needed, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The psychological impact was enormous. Alien civilians who had lived in safety for centuries now watched their skies, nervously, never knowing when human ships might appear. Alien military commanders found themselves defending targets throughout their territory against an enemy that could strike anywhere at any time. On the neutral world of Arcania Prime, Ambassador Park Jin concluded another successful trade negotiation. The former aide to Ambassador Lee Hyun had proven to be a skilled diplomat in his own right. More importantly, he was negotiating from a position of strength. "The Arcanian Federation agrees to provide quantum crystals in exchange for human medical technology," said Prime Minister Telvaros. "But we must ask, how did humans develop such advanced healing methods in just 2 years?" Ambassador Park Jin smiled. "Desperation makes excellent motivation for innovation. When the aliens cut off our access to galactic medicine, our doctors had no choice but to develop better treatments using only human knowledge and resources. The truth was even more remarkable than that. Human medical advances now surpassed anything available in alien space. Human doctors, forced to work without alien technology, had discovered treatments that the aliens had never imagined. Human. Scientists cut off from alien research had made breakthrough discoveries at an unprecedented rate. Similar success stories were playing out across dozens of neutral worlds. The Kelton Farming Confederation wanted human agricultural techniques that could increase crop yields by 40%. The Independent Miners Union needed human extraction equipment that could process asteroids more efficiently than anything the aliens possessed. Most significantly, several species that had previously supported the Cosmic Council were now questioning their allegiance. Dr. Kim Sora received reports of these developments with amazement. The aliens created the conditions for our greatest period of growth in human history, she told President Choi Moran during their weekly briefing. How so? The president asked. By cutting us off from their technology, they forced us to develop our own. By isolating us from their markets, they made us self-sufficient. By threatening our freedom, they united us as never before. The numbers supported this conclusion. Human scientific publications had increased by 800% since the siege began. Human patents and innovations were being registered at 10 times the pre-war rate. Human industrial capacity now exceeded what they had possessed before the conflict, despite losing access to galactic trade. But the most significant change was in human society itself. Teacher Bae Young had been elected mayor of New Seoul after the previous mayor decided to focus full-time on military coordination. Her inauguration speech was broadcast across human space and secretly received by millions of alien civilians. We are not the same people we were 3 years ago, she told her audience. The aliens thought they could break us by taking away our comfortable dependence on their systems. Instead, they taught us that we never needed those systems in the first place. Every challenge they presented made us stronger. Every obstacle they created forced us to find better solutions. Every threat they made united us more completely. We do not hate the aliens for what they have done to us. We thank them. They have given us the greatest gift possible. They have shown us what we are truly capable of when we work together. The speech resonated throughout the galaxy. Neutral species shared it with their populations. Even some alien civilians began to wonder if their governments had made a terrible mistake. On Earth, President Choi Moran prepared for humanity's most important diplomatic mission since the war began. Intelligence reports indicated that several council species were experiencing internal pressure to end the conflict. The mollusk consortium was facing economic collapse as their trade routes were disrupted by human raids. The Zephyrian Trade Federation was losing customers to human merchants. Even some Vorthon colonies were beginning to question their crystal leader's wisdom. We have an opportunity, Foreign Secretary Lim Nari reported. If we can convince even one council species to break ranks, others might follow. What do our military advisors recommend? President Choi asked. Defense Minister Yang Tae consulted his latest reports. Admiral Nam Ki believes we can maintain current operations indefinitely. Our industrial capacity continues to grow. Our technological advantages are increasing. Our strategic position improves every month. But what about casualties? Remarkably low. Our quantum jump technology allows us to avoid direct fleet engagements. Most of our raids are completed without combat. When fighting does occur, our superior technology gives us significant advantages. This was the aliens' greatest failure of understanding. They had expected humans to behave like traditional military forces, seeking direct confrontation and territorial conquest. Instead, humans fought like humans, adapting quickly using superior technology and avoiding unnecessary losses. Engineer Kang Min had been promoted to Director of Advanced Weapons Development. His latest creation was a quantum disruption missile that could disable alien ships without destroying them. The technology was so advanced that alien scientists could not understand how it worked, even when examining captured examples. The key is not to match their technology, he explained to a gathering of human engineers. The key is to make their technology irrelevant. His latest project was even more ambitious, a quantum communications network that would connect every human world instantly, regardless of distance. Once completed, humanity would possess communications technology superior to anything in the galaxy. The aliens, meanwhile, were discovering the cost of their arrogance. Vorthan Prime Minister's latest briefing was his most disturbing yet. Economic losses now exceed 12 trillion credits, reported his financial advisor. Industrial production has fallen by 30% due to human raids. Trade agreements with neutral species are being cancelled weekly. What about military progress? The crystalline leader asked desperately. General Zektar's mandibles clicked with frustration. We cannot force the humans to engage our main battle fleet. They strike where we are weak and avoid areas where we are strong. Our forces are spread across the galaxy trying to defend everything, while they can concentrate their attacks anywhere they choose. Surely we still have superior numbers? Yes, but numbers mean nothing if we cannot bring them to bear. The humans have made traditional fleet tactics obsolete. The truth was even worse than General Zektar admitted. Human technology was advancing so rapidly that alien equipment was becoming obsolete within months of deployment. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything in the alien fleet. Human crews were more motivated, better trained, and more innovative than their alien counterparts. Captain Shinro's strike cruiser materialized inside an alien convoy formation, disabled 3 transport vessels with quantum disruption missiles, and jumped away before the escorts could respond. The entire engagement lasted 18 seconds. As his ship reached safe space, Captain Shinro reviewed the operation with satisfaction. They had captured enough supplies to support a human colony for 6 months, and no one had been killed or seriously injured. Admiral Han Wu sends his compliments, reported his communications officer. Similar raids have been successful in 14 other systems today. This was the new reality. Humans could strike anywhere in alien space at will. They could capture any supplies they needed. They could disrupt any alien operation they chose to target. Meanwhile, the aliens could do nothing to stop them. The psychological pressure was breaking alien morale. Several Cosmic Council species had experienced riots as their civilians demanded an end to the costly and ineffective siege. Economic systems that had operated smoothly for centuries were collapsing under the strain of constant human raids, but, perhaps most importantly, the neutral species were choosing sides. The Arcanian Federation formally announced their support for human independence. The Kelton farmers declared the Cosmic Council's siege illegal and began providing food. 3 years and 7 months after Ambassador Li Hyun walked out of the Cosmic Council chambers, the Great Hall was filled once again. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. The 12 alien species sat in their massive chairs, but they no longer radiated arrogant confidence. Instead, they looked like defendants waiting for judgment. Li Hyun stood in the center of the circular platform, exactly where he had stood when receiving the alien ultimatum. Beside him stood Fleet Admiral Han Wu, Dr. Kim Sora, and Ambassador Park Jin. Behind them, representatives from 47 neutral species filled the observer galleries. The Vorthan Prime Minister spoke first, his crystal voice lacking its former authority. Human representatives, the Cosmic Council has requested this meeting to discuss the current situation between our peoples. Li Hyun smiled calmly. We are here to listen to your proposal. The words were identical to those spoken by the aliens years ago, but now the positions were reversed. The aliens were the ones making desperate proposals while humanity held all the advantages. The Council acknowledges that our previous approach may have been overly aggressive, the crystalline being continued. We are prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for an end to hostilities. Dr. Kim Sora consulted her data pad. What specific concessions are you offering? The insectoid Kalari delegate clicked her mandibles nervously. Full recognition of all current human colonies, restoration of trade relationships, compensation for economic losses during the Ziga. And in return, Fleet Admiral Han Wu asked, cessation of raids against our infrastructure, withdrawal of human military forces from our territories, agreement to limit future expansion to mutually agreed areas. Li Hyun exchanged glances with his colleagues. The aliens were still trying to limit human freedom, even while offering concessions. Your proposal is rejected, Li Hyun said simply. The silence that followed was deafening. The aliens had expected negotiation, compromise, perhaps even harsh terms. They had not expected outright rejection. The Vorthan Prime Minister's crystal form flickered with confusion. But surely you wish to end this conflict. Your people have suffered losses. Your resources have been stretched thin. Ambassador Park Jin stepped forward. Prime Minister, you seem to misunderstand our position. We are not suffering, we are thriving. This conflict has been the greatest period of growth and development in human history. The truth of this statement was undeniable. Human industrial capacity now exceeded pre-war levels by 400%. Human technology had advanced more in 3 years than in the previous 30. Human influence stretched across the galaxy through trade agreements and diplomatic relationships. Then, "What do you want from us?" the Mollusk Consortium representative asked desperately, its tentacles writhing with anxiety. Dr. Kim Sora answered, "We want you to understand what you have done. 3 years ago, you demanded that humanity submit to your authority. You threatened us with destruction if we refused. You tried to crush our spirit through isolation and economic warfare. You succeeded in teaching us something valuable. We do not need your permission to exist. We do not require your approval to expand. We do not depend on your systems for our prosperity." Fleet Admiral Han Wu added his voice. "You created the very thing you feared. By trying to limit human expansion, you forced us to become more capable of expansion than ever before. By threatening our freedom, you made us more determined to defend it." The alien delegates looked increasingly uncomfortable. Around the great hall, representatives from neutral species watched with fascination as the former victims addressed their former oppressors. Li Hyun walked closer to the alien chairs. "You made one fundamental error in your calculations. You assumed we would react like you would react. You believed that faced with overwhelming force we would surrender and accept subjugation. Instead, we chose to become stronger. We chose to become more united. We chose to become more innovative. We chose to become free." The Zephyrian trade minister spoke up. "But what about galactic stability? Your rapid expansion disrupts established trade routes. Your technological advances make our systems obsolete. Your very existence challenges the order we have maintained for millennia." "Your order," Ambassador Park Jin replied, "was built on the assumption that some species have the right to dominate others. We reject that assumption completely." Dr. Kim Sora activated a holographic display showing the current galactic situation. 17 former council species have withdrawn from your organization. 43 neutral species now maintain trade agreements with humanity. Your economic power has declined by 60%. Your military influence has been reduced to your home systems. The galactic order is changing whether you accept it or not. The only question is whether you will adapt to the new reality or continue clinging to the old one. The Vorthan Prime Minister's crystal body dimmed visibly. "What are your terms for peace?" Li Hyun smiled. "These are not terms for peace, these are the facts of our new relationship." He activated his own holographic display. "First, humanity will never again recognize any alien authority over human affairs. We are a sovereign species with full rights to self-determination. Second, any interference with human colonies, human trade, or human expansion will be met with immediate retaliation. We have proven we can strike any target in your territory at will. Third, the siege of human space ends immediately. All alien military forces will withdraw from human systems. Any attempt to reimpose the blockade will be considered an act of war. Fourth, full reparations for economic losses during the siege will be paid by all council species. The amount will be determined by neutral arbitrators." The aliens listened, in growing horror as Li Hyun continued. "Fifth, the Cosmic Council will publicly acknowledge human independence and apologize for the illegal siege. This acknowledgement will be broadcast on all frequencies to every inhabited world in the galaxy." "And if we refuse these demands?" the Kalari delegate asked weakly. Fleet Admiral Han Wu answered with quiet confidence. "Then we continue doing exactly what we have been doing. We will raid your facilities, disrupt your trade, and demonstrate daily that your authority means nothing. Meanwhile, more of your allies will abandon you. Your economy will continue declining and your influence will shrink until you control nothing but your homeworlds. The choice is yours. Accept the new reality and rebuild your relationship with humanity as equals, or continue fighting a war you have already lost. The silence stretched for long minutes. Finally, the Vorthan Prime Minister spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. We accept your terms. One by one, the other alien delegates voiced their agreement. The insectoid Kalari delegates' mandibles clicked in defeat. The gaseous Nephim's forms swirled with resignation. The mollusk consortium representatives' tentacles drooped with exhaustion. The formal signing ceremony took place the following day. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy attended. Li Hyun signed for humanity with the same pen he had carried 3 years earlier when delivering their rejection of the alien ultimatum. As he finished signing, Li Hyun looked up at the assembled delegates. This document establishes a new principle in galactic relations. Never again will any species attempt to subjugate another through threats or force. Never again will superior numbers be used to crush the rights of smaller peoples. Dr. Kim Sora addressed the gathering next. Humanity offers friendship and cooperation to all species willing to treat us as equals. We will share our technological advances freely with those who respect our sovereignty. We will defend any species facing the same threats we overcame. The EI ceremony concluded with the most remarkable moment in galactic history. Teacher Bei Young, now representing the Human Colonial Assembly, stood before the gathered aliens and neutral species. 3 years ago, you tried to teach us our place in your galaxy, she said. Instead, you taught us that we do not belong in your galaxy at all. You taught us to build our own. We are not conquerors seeking to replace your dominance with our own. We are builders seeking to create something better than dominance. We invite you to join us in building a galaxy where freedom is not a privilege granted by the powerful, but a right belonging to all. The response was immediate. 23 species formally requested diplomatic relations with humanity. 15 others announced their intention to adopt human-style democratic governments. Even some former council worlds began experiencing democratic movements inspired by the human example. 6 months later, President Choi Moran stood in the same office where she had made the decision to reject the alien ultimatum. Through her window, she could see construction ships from a dozen species working together to build the new Galactic Trade Center in Earth orbit. The final casualty reports, Defense Minister Yang Tai said, handing her a data pad. President Choi Moran reviewed the numbers with amazement. Total human military deaths, 837. Total alien military deaths, 1,211. Total civilian casualties on both sides, 0. How is this possible, she asked. Our forces followed strict rules of engagement designed to minimize loss of life, Yang Tae replied. We fought to win, not to kill. The aliens never understood the difference. Economic advisor Kang Wu entered with the latest trade statistics.